the ad that I think is going to perform the best. It usually does not. So that has been very humbling that over the years, that part, I will say, if you have a strong ego and you're going to be a CMO, like you may want to consider a different profession. When we started, it was a completely different landscape. I would say as different 13 years ago as it is today with AI.
Jennifer Christensen is the co-founder and CMO at Beacon Media and Marketing, an Inc. 5000 agency that started in Alaska and now works with hundreds of clients across the U.S. With over a decade of experience, she's helped brands grow using smart strategy, inbound marketing, and a whole lot of grit. In this episode, she shares what actually works and what to avoid.
I have had to think more like a business owner than a marketer for the majority of my career. Like that is the only time that you really can achieve a greater level of success. I think that's kind of the hidden problem with being a CMO.
What's a common myth about inbound marketing that you encounter with new clients, and how do you dispel it?
So I think a big myth is when they hear marketing in general, they're thinking, how do I get my message out to the world? If they expect marketing to solve a product that is not well-versed, they don't have their operations down, they don't clearly know who their ideal client is.
If you were to go back in time, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I would tell my younger self that go eat coffee with experts.
Jennifer, please introduce yourself and tell the world why you're awesome.
Thank you. Jennifer Christensen, I'm co-founder of Beacon Media and Marketing. We've been in business for 13 years and we started in Alaska. We expanded nationally about 6 years ago. Most of our team, 30 employees and hundreds of clients now are in what we call the lower 48 from Alaska. And last couple of years, we've been an Inc. 5000 company, so one of the fastest growing companies in the U.S. And it's been an incredible journey from starting a small agency in Anchorage, Alaska to where we are now.
That's amazing. How was it like for you to grow your agency 13 years ago?
When we started, it was a completely different landscape. I would say as different 13 years ago as it is today with AI. So when we started, very small market in Alaska, we were the first digital agency to really just start to move forward with that market piece. We had a lot of resistance from the more traditional agencies, and even the market in general was just not fully ready for, social media, web, all of that. Many people thought, believe it or not, back then that social media was going to be a fad. They didn't think it would affect and transform marketing. So in the beginning, the biggest challenges were that we were in a small market. We had a major education problem, and we couldn't even hire team or staff members locally that knew how to do the work that we were offering. So we had massive challenges in the beginning, and we just ended up working during the day, selling what we had, and then actually working at night to do the production. And that was our first couple of years of business, and then training up a staff to make it happen. It actually became much easier when we went national.
That's amazing. I mean, just to kind of like maintain that type of schedule for a longer period of time. Like I think a lot of people would have tapped out and just like go back to like in-house marketing or something. But I think this is why you're also successful, because you were able to go through those hardships and to do both sales and fulfillment at the same time. What's a common myth about inbound marketing that you encounter with new clients, and how do you dispel it?
Concerning inbound marketing, I think a lot of clients don't even really fully understand what that means, like what that term means. Okay. So I think a big myth is when they hear marketing in general, they're thinking, how do I get my message out to the world? They're thinking about it from that perspective, or, how do I advertise? Right? And inbound marketing in the simplest terms is showing up exactly where your clients are already looking for your services. So to me, it's my favorite type of marketing, hands down. That's how we grew and scaled our business. We used inbound marketing to scale across the United States. If we had done it any other way, it would have cost 10 to 15 times as much and not been as effective. I mean, our company is proof that it's very effective when you know what you're doing and you do it well. So I think I didn't fully answer your question, though. I think the myth is probably just lack of understanding. Like when they hear inbound marketing, they either think that, if they put their message out there in advertising, that people are going to find them in the right places. But it's almost two completely different ways of thinking about marketing.
Yeah. What's your favorite inbound marketing strategy that you often recommend to your clients?
It used to be content for sure. I mean, that's what we started out with. We were heavy in content. We never really got heavily into link building, but as we have grown and scaled and now with the ad, I mean that was probably our main trend. As many people know, blogging, writing really good SEO content for your website, all of that has been very effective for the past 12 years. This last year with AI and AI overviews and everything that's changing, that has shaken up the market dramatically. So the same type of content will not work anymore at all. And what I'm really excited about is something that is working now, which is definitely branded content. So it's all still content, but instead of just writing a blog about a general subject, when you're writing content that is also attached to a video or a podcast, you're sharing your personal point of view. You're talking about your brand. You're basically building your brand so that people connect with you on a personal level. And then you're writing content that talks about maybe data that you have around the subject that you're writing about. Like for us, we have hundreds of clients in the mental health space. So we can provide data points that AI will actually cite. It's like, to me, the game has changed tremendously now. It's not just blogging content. But I'm actually really excited about it because to me, it's like quality is rising to the top. You have to be super thoughtful about it. You have to be strategic. You have to provide really good information that you want to get picked up from AI and Google, and people want to read.
That's amazing. You mentioned at the beginning of our call that you have AI-driven strategies to help your SEO processes. What are those?
Yeah, a few of them. We have multiple tools that we're using. I've been speaking and I'm working in AI through the Marketing AI Institute for the last 3 years. So I definitely saw this coming for a while. And at first we didn't use any AI for content. Google's been back and forth on whether they were going to derank content that was strictly AI. And so we were pretty cautious about that. We just used AI to help us do keyword research. I mean, a lot of the tools that we've been using for years, like SEMrush, Surfer SEO, those things, they all have AI built into them. And it's more like the research and that strategy side of it, of figuring out like how you want to rank, where you want to rank. And then as far as the articles themselves, we have recently shifted. We hadn't done it until the last couple months, but we've recently shifted to letting AI help us with some of the research as well and picking out links and everything online. And then the key is, and this is the thing, it will not work if you do not do this. I have studied this extensively. You have to put in personal content that is branded to you specifically, your point of view, or provide data that they can't get somewhere else. If you're not doing that, if you don't have those pieces of it, I've researched site after site after site on the back end, and you can see that initially they'll get a lift in traffic, but then it'll just dive bomb. So they're writing the same content that everybody else can write.
I think that also plays into like how to strengthen your EEAT for Google.
Absolutely.
To like show your authority and expertise. But has your content velocity changed over time during the ChatGPT years, like since 2022, 23? Do you do more or less content?
We haven't done that yet, but we're about to. So we've kept our content the same. We've just shifted the focus to be more the EEAT. Like you said, I've written quite a bit about that. Just recently though, like I said, the last 2 months, we made a big shift and like, okay, now that we have this new concept down, now that we can see that this really works, now we can speed up. Now we can deliver 8 pieces of content where we were delivering 2 or 3 in the same time frame. So that's just going to bring extra value to our clients at the same price. Yeah. So now we are. Yes.
Okay. So you have changed, but like you didn't drastically change though, because some people went through like publishing 20 a day or something.
Well, and I've researched the back end of all those websites. There was one guy that I was following on LinkedIn that started a whole AI content factory, solution. And he kept citing these case studies and I'm like, okay, that's great. And he would show the sites going up. But when I went in and looked at the back end through SEMrush and Google, I could see that yes, they went up initially, but they all tanked. And so that's not what we want to have happen. So I've been very cautious we're definitely not going that route. Like 20 pieces of content that anyone could write. What's the value of that? That's not marketing. That's a tactic. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not marketing. That's just copy and paste. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's not marketing at all. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So can you tell me about like, what's your favorite, AI tool for you to use for your everyday work?
Oh, my new favorite. I mean, I have the $200 ChatGPT, so I have the really high level account.
Wow.
And I've been using that for about 3 or 4 months now. Absolutely love that. I use that daily for many, many things. It's a really hard choice though. I'd say that one. I definitely wouldn't go with the cheaper account. I don't think it's worth it. So that one, the Perplexity Pro is great. That's a great research tool one. I love Surf for SEO. I've loved that for quite a while. We use that daily. My new favorite one is Lovable AI. The great, yeah, absolutely love it. So it's like the name, but it's such a great, it is so well done and thoughtful, and it's a landing page tool. So if you have a concept and you want to create, you want to know what your market value prop is, or you need something quick to present, it is such a great starting point. Now, our company doesn't look at these tools and say, oh, we want it to do everything for us. But if it can create like a great UX outline and, have some content ideas and a layout and a good space for us, that saves us so much time to be able to develop better strategy for the client. So I highly recommend that one if you guys haven't looked at that from a web perspective. It's not for SEO, so it's not going to rank, it's not in WordPress. It doesn't have all those benefits. But if you need a couple landing pages to augment a campaign that you're doing, it is so far my favorite tool I found.
Amazing. I will check it out, and I'm also going to link Lovable.ai down in the description because it seems like a really new tool. People can benefit from it. What is the biggest pitfall? What is the biggest pitfall businesses fall into when it comes to digital marketing strategies? So like a new client comes to you and you're just like, okay, this is going to be a big pitfall.
Yeah. I think it's the same thing over and over again. Like nothing's changed in this area. I've just learned a lot through a lot of painful experiences and, my own naivety over the years. The biggest pitfall in any marketing endeavor, and we have hundreds of clients now. We've worked with hundreds, obviously. It's usually one of two things. One, thinking that a marketing tactic is going to solve a business problem. So if you don't clearly know that you have a good service or product and you don't have that vetted well, there's nothing wrong with basically testing that through marketing, right? Like, let's say you have a new idea and you're not sure that the market is going to respond the way that you want them to. And so you want to use marketing to test that. Great. Like that's great. But people that come in and think, my biggest problem is marketing, it probably isn't their biggest problem. So if they expect marketing to solve a product that is not well versed, they don't have their operations down, they don't clearly know who their ideal client is. They're not providing great customer service. I see that over and over and over again. And actually what ends up happening is even clients that scale, like let's say you hit a great campaign, you market it out of the park. I'll just give you an example. I think that's the easiest way to do it. So we had a client that has a specific niche within the mental health field. And it's a very big niche, but it's a specific niche. And so they came to us and they're like, hey, we're not doing well. Like we need, we're not competing against these bigger companies. We need to expand our reach. And so what we determined is if we expanded their reach, it would actually go so far outside of what their niche is that they would lose the clientele that's in their niche, and the people that they would find in the bigger group would not resonate once they walked in their door. Because they're so clearly identified, like this is who we serve, like when they actually have the experience. You can't just say I'm going to market to everybody and expect that to be successful. It's actually going to backfire hugely. So what we showed them was that their niche is not the problem. The problem is they were not even communicating on a high level to their niche. They have very little market share even within that niche. So if you break everything I've said down, I know I've kind of gone on in different directions, but if you break everything I've said down, it's not going deep enough with that original conversation to know actually what the problem is. And once you know what the actual problem is, then you can create a marketing solution for it.
Yeah. I would like to share a story too. I think my first job was a little similar where I was hired to be a marketer. I was expected to run the ads and then sell the product. But the thing is, there was no product. We just made it up on the fly. As someone came in, then we would do something for them. But it was very specific to children. So it was like a after school program to teach them how to code and stuff. because they didn't have a good product and positioning, they didn't know who they're going to teach. Is it going to be like a 5-year-old or is it going to be like a 12-year-old? And also with children, there's at a very different level. So they wanted to teach in English in Vietnam. So now the market is a lot smaller. So they were marketing to a very small market that was, that also had a lot of grouping. So the market was already small, but then some of the kids had language problems or tech problems because it's a tech school. So you can come in saying like, I don't know anything, or like, I know a lot of stuff. I want you to teach me more, you know? And so there was a lot of categories of kids that had to be solved as well for a really small market. And I realized that, oh my God, if the product is not good, no matter how hard I work, it's gonna hurt me and it's gonna hurt the company, because as marketers we always spend money, spend time and resources and stuff. So that was
That's so
my first
hard. If that
lesson in
was
marketing.
if that was your first experience, like that had to be really discouraging. I'm so glad you stayed in marketing, because that can kind of throw people off to
Yeah.
thinking marketing is not valuable. But if you recognize that and can take that with you, that's just going to make you so much better down the road.
Yeah, I really enjoyed, like, when I first created my first report saying like, okay, this was my ad spend, it was my number of leads, this was the qualified leads. I was like, oh my God, things are making sense. So that's when I realized like, oh, I want to continue doing this, but not with the company I was with. I think we could have done some SEO, but at the time I had no idea what SEO was and how to utilize it. So yeah, that was on me being a beginner.
Taking that situation back, do you think, because it sounds to me like they were trying to use marketing to do market product validation, right? They were trying to validate their ideas. Do you think if they had taken a different approach and they had, say, interviewed key stakeholders and they had really asked the questions of the people that they were trying to serve of what they actually needed, do you think they could have then created a better product that then would have been successful? Potentially.
100%. Like, I think the market is already validated in a way. I don't know, you tell me, but like there are other companies doing the same thing, but they were doing it in Vietnamese. So it was easier to reach the market you just have a lot more to play with. Like, you are talking to a Vietnamese audience and have the classes in Vietnamese. The cost would have been a lot more simpler. Finding teachers who know how to teach coding to kids in English, that was a lot of like, the product was basically the teacher at this point, right? And the teacher's hourly rate had to make sense. And then like now I'm not even thinking as a marketer, I'm thinking as a business owner, like what would have made sense, you know what I mean? So had they changed the market to, yeah.
Well, I think your point, what you just said, is really critical, because this is what I have found as a CMO all these years, and being in the agency space for sure. I have had to think more like a business owner than a marketer for the majority of my career. Like, that is the only time that you really can achieve a greater level of success. So I think that's kind of the hidden problem with being a CMO. Like, unless you're a CMO in an enterprise company that really has an established base and you have that level of business that has already been established, you are going to have to think on any small level company that you're working with, you are going to have to wear that hat, because you can't provide a good marketing strategy if it doesn't align with their business strategy.
So that was my first marketing experience, to basically help a local business out. But then I don't think I was put up with the job, but now I can see the problem in a more holistic way. Right. Speaking of like running companies and thinking as a business owner, I also noted down that you've been co-authored for the Digital Marketing Roadmap book, as well as you spoke at conferences. So I see that, going to conferences has been like a very well practiced discipline for marketing your company, but I see more and more marketers publishing books because the barrier to entry had been a lot lower. If you were to talk to other agency owners today and they ask you like, hey, Jennifer, is this book writing actually like paying off? What would you say?
Right. I think that when we did it, which was 6 years ago, it was really more of a confidence builder for us. It did definitely open doors for conference speaking opportunities, right? So that was really great. I think the real value that I got out of it, of being a part of that, was it almost, like I said, it was almost that confidence builder of, wow, I have all these years of experience in this. Like, we do know what we're talking about. It was less important how many books we sold. We gave a lot away to our clients and prospects. And that was also valuable in even lead generation as well. So yes, absolutely valuable. I mean, long answer to the question, absolutely valuable. Maybe not for the reasons that I wanted to be a, author that was selling millions of books or something. That really wasn't the goal. So I would highly recommend that if you can, there's a piece that you walk away with just knowing that when you pull all that information together and you see what you've accomplished over the last 5-10 years, it just gives you almost like a clearer vision and story of what you can offer the market and who you serve best.
It's amazing. So another question of mine, like, how do you go about testing your marketing ideas?
I mean, these days it's amazing, right? We can test so quickly. So I'm a big believer in testing everything. We use Mouseflow, which is one of my favorite tools. We use that to test the UX on our websites. So if I believe, and I try to take my opinion out of it as much as possible, but if I believe that a certain look and feel is going to benefit the client the most, certain types of content, being able to test and see then what that user journey is. If you're not familiar with Mouseflow, you can actually see the person with their mouse on the back end of the website, where they stop, where they click, what they're interested in, what stops them. It's super powerful. So that's a great way to test that one part of marketing. Is my messaging resonating? Did I think that they would understand that piece and then go to this? Or did I think that that would lead to a conversion? Obviously, within the ad space, the testing is immediate and it's incredible. So we can put out, 18, 20 ads. I'm always blown away. The ad that I think is going to perform the best, it usually does not. So that has been very humbling that over the years, that part, I will say, if you have a strong ego and you're going to be a CMO, like, you may want to consider a different profession, because it really, yes, you get more and more knowledgeable. You get more and more knowledgeable, but you're going to be humbled over and over and over again, because what you realize is it's not about your personal preferences. It's about what people really resonate with. And so you have to hold it loosely. Now, I'm not saying there aren't principles that work. Of course there is. We know storytelling. We know story brands like a great principle. We know certain things work, but it's not always going to be what you think is going to work at all. So we test everything as much as possible.
That's amazing. One of the tactics I learned over like 2 weeks ago, actually, is just to have one campaign on a lower budget and basically test the creatives there first and then put it into like a more expensive ad campaign. I'm going to try that out. So the lady who taught me this, she's been running a lot of campaigns and she optimized the cost per lead really, really well with this method. And so, I think I would put in like $100 budget for that campaign, have like I'm talking meta ads right now, and have a traffic type, like the type of the campaign is like for just traffic, and just to see which one gets more clicks. Within the assets, we can repeat the same, for example, image, but like a different headline. So we can see exactly which headline works better and kind of like Frankenstein this together.
Yeah. So I think that's the best way to do it. You got to test. It's the creative and you've got to think about it from the whole perspective. It's not just about driving traffic or driving engagement. And I guess this goes back to like the humbling part, is that you can have an ad that's got great creative and it really stops the scroll, and that's great. But if it's not your ideal client and now you stop the scroll, and I've even had clients get, go viral, but it wasn't their target. Like, is that good marketing? Is that not good marketing? Like, did you achieve your goals? I mean, you really have to think through like, what is your end goal, and then kind of work backwards from there.
I mean, I get it. Like, a lot of people argue that, virality is not something that we should go after, because then, you might reach the wrong audience. But in my mind, that also really helps branding, right? Like,
it does.
Let's
I was
say
just going to say that there's the argument on the other side.
Yeah.
It's always
I would much
the
rather, I
cost
always
though.
take the viral content.
Within reason. I mean, I think it's because we work in like the mental health and healthcare market. So we did have a client go viral on TikTok. She's a grief counselor and very, really impactful in the work that she does. And she's got a great brand. And so her content was going viral. And one of the negatives of that, there was some really good things that came out of that. But one of the negatives of that was that the amount of comments and DMs and everything that were happening, she could not possibly keep up with. So just think about if you're going to do that and like you're trying to run a full-time business, try to prepare best you can if that's the direction you're looking to go.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, a lot of people say that too. Like it just gives you a lot of extra work. Yep. Yeah. I'd like you to ask you, how did you start your marketing career before you started the agency?
Yeah, a very unique direction, not typical, obviously later in life. So I had a corporate sales career. I actually had a very negative view of marketers. I felt like, as I felt like as a corporate sales leader, and that had always been my experience of being a top salesperson and then sales manager and then leader, that marketing was the fluff and they could never provide numbers. They could never show their value. And so I just did not have a high opinion of marketers in general or of the profession. I felt like as a salesperson, I was the one doing the bulk of the work, right? So long story short, so then 15 years ago, I got recruited to be part of the first digital news agency, one of the first in the US. A woman, billionaire from New York, had this vision for Alaska. And anyway, so she invested in this digital news site and they needed someone to sell ads for it. So I got recruited for that, basically into sales, but then I had to learn the entire digital side of the company, maybe 16 years ago. I had to learn the entire digital side. And this is back when I took the very first university course on digital marketing that even existed back then, which is University of San Francisco. Yeah. And once I got into digital marketing, what I discovered is that, okay, this is everything I love, which is like the sales side, basically, like it's all numbers driven and you can absolutely show value. So like that was real. I fell in love with it. And then it also had this creative component, which I really enjoyed too. So I came in a very unique way. Did not start off as a marketer, started off more business, sales, career side. Came in when I was 40 years old or just about 40 years old. So it was also very late, to the market. But what I found is that it gave me a massive edge actually, because I had that whole experience. Yeah.
Not a lot of marketers are good at sales. I'm telling you, like the reason why you see a lot of fluff, because a lot of people don't know how to close sales. They don't know how to talk to people. So then at the end, you don't see the revenue. And I find myself being in this like weird limbo where like I can talk to people. I understand the product. I could be in sales, but because I'm a marketer too, now I'm just like in this weird middle stuff, which I very, very much enjoy. But in my first job, I hated it because I'm super overwhelmed. But now I feel more control over that kind of duality of sales and marketing.
Yeah. And you have in the world we're living in now with AI, like sales is going to be, people don't want to talk to a salesperson anyway. That is not what people want to do anymore. They want to get as much information as they can online. So if you can think of, as a marketer, you will have a huge leg up. If you can think of the client journey as not just you getting their attention and bringing them in to find out about your brand, but what does the client want to see all the way through to close that sale? If you can do that, like you've got a massive head up on most marketers.
But don't you think that because of AI, people would want to talk to salespeople more because they want to talk to a human being rather than a bot telling them what to do?
No, they want to talk to a human being for sure. They just don't want to be sold, right? So, and we have to get this out of our head. Nope. I mean, who wants to be sold anything, right? I mean,
I'm a very easy target though.
Are you?
Yeah. I'm so easy.
I used to
but
be,
like that's just me.
I mean, I think about like car sales. Most people don't want to be, they don't want to be screwed over, right? They want to get as much information so that they know they feel armed with information, especially when it's something like digital marketing, like what we do or what you do. And they feel like, okay, I don't understand this world. They don't want somebody to sell them on something and then have it not be a good fit, or hurt them or cost them a lot of money. So if you can think that way and provide as much up front, and then the phone call you have with them is really just okay, I want to understand you. I want to make sure this is a good fit. I want to provide any extra questions you have. It's not a sales call. It's more of a discovery. And you're going deeper and you're learning about them. Yeah, I see the whole thing shifting to AI taking the majority of that. And then the companies that do provide the personal touch will also win.
Yeah, yeah. I think for also clarifying what sales actually means. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people think of the discovery call as the sales. I think of the discovery call as the sales, but like, yes, you're right. People just hate being pressured into decision they are not ready for. And I think that's the best sales, right? That's like just pressuring you. Like, I mean, in Asia, they do it all the time. Maybe I'm just used to it. Or like, yeah, I don't, just ignore.
Right.
When you go to like markets or something. Yeah. So Jennifer, we came to the end of the show. And before I let you go, I'd like to ask you one more question. And which is, if you were to go back in time, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I would if I could go back in time and give my younger self, I would tell my younger self that go to therapy, deal with your own crap. Like everything that you don't deal with in your own life, any issues that you have, any wrong thinking, any bad thinking about money or trying to please people or the way the world works will affect your business. So it will affect your ability to grow in your career. It'll affect your ability. So more than anything, I think really coming to peace with yourself of who you are, owning who you are, and being willing to face whatever you need to face in yourself is actually probably your biggest barrier more than anything else. So I would tell my younger self, get on that now so you don't have to do it later.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And I will link your agency in the description and also your email so people can reach out to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you.
Thank you.